who does he see pushing a buggy? And I was like, he sees you.
Me,
like he sees daddy pushing a buggy, and I actually think he was really interested in it because of the wheels.
Yeah.
It's the same with the shower and the bath, isn't it? They don't want to get in it, and
then
they
you
don't
can't
want to
get him out. It's because it's your idea.
Yeah.
I think it's mega important that they have a positive male role model.
It's so important to encourage emotions in your boys. I think,
Be like,
that makes sense. Because
it's like when your wife tells you certain time of the month.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Yeah.
When our house is 4 grown men.
It's 3 boys, at least you haven't got to pay for 3 weddings. I'm like, well, by the time that comes around, we probably would have got rid of that tradition.
Hi, I'm Emily.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And welcome back to our podcast, What They Don't Tell You.
But we will.
Yes, and in today's episode, we are talking about a topic. I feel like we know a lot about this.
We're experts.
Yes, we're going to be talking all about raising boys. We have 3 boys. They're currently 8 years old, 11 and 14. And yeah, I feel like we've been through a lot of the ages, a lot of experiences. And so we've got some top tips that we want to share with you. But then also maybe a few things that I think people don't always think about with boys.
Definitely. And when you say to people you've got 3 boys, they make all sorts of noises, all sorts of faces. So we're going to maybe look into why people make those faces and make those noises. We're going to break it down into 2 parts. First being tips and our experiences of raising boys. And then fundamentally, second part would be raising boys in today's world. Because it's different to even when we first had children, right?
Yeah. And I have always felt like when I say to someone, oh, I've got 3 boys, or when they ask me, oh, you've got all boys, it's really weird. Like it's like this weird respect, or like you're really brave or really strong because you've got 3 boys. Like you're able to cope with the chaos that 3 boys would bring. But actually, I think there's some really lovely parts of raising boys. But obviously we were going to get into, the chaos because there is chaos. But then, let's not forget, they're actually really loving and really sweet and,
we don't know any different, right?
And we don't know any different. So that's what we wanted to say at the beginning of this episode. We don't want to gender stereotype, but raising boys is actually the only experience we've had.
Yeah.
And a lot of the tips that we're going to share today will actually work for girls as well. Because in the past, if I've ever mentioned things on my YouTube channel or on social media, I'll always get mums that will say, well, my daughter loves football. My daughter needs to run around and get out every single day.
Yeah.
So this is obviously nuanced. But boys and girls do have some fundamental differences as well.
People are intrigued, aren't they, by the dynamic anyway of having all the same sex child. But we need to let go of stereotyping, don't we? Because our kids, like you say, girls do similar stuff. Our boys, do you know what I mean? They've worn dresses, they've pushed prams. They've done all those things. So something we've done as parents is definitely let go of a stereotype, haven't we?
Yeah.
But we are going to delve into the boyish natures of our children.
It is really important to let go of gender stereotypes. And I think we've done that with the boys. When they were little, we'd never we'd buy them a doll if they wanted a doll. I remember one of our sons really loved In the Night Garden, but specifically loved the girl in it. So we bought him the doll and we bought him a little pram and he would push it up and down the high street and he just loved it so much. And then also with my youngest, for one Christmas, we bought him a dollhouse because he has always loved talking characters, role playing or whatever, and telling stories. So we got him a dollhouse, but I did get quite a few comments when I shared that on social media, oh, you've got him a dollhouse. It's this really girly thing.
You just encourage him play, aren't you? There's no
Well, that's it. And with the buggy as well, with a toy buggy, which a lot of girls have, I think even you were a bit first, when I first bought it for our eldest, you were like, what? And I said, who does he see pushing a buggy? And I was like, he sees you.
Me,
he sees daddy pushing a buggy. And I actually think he was really interested in it because of the wheels.
And then when you put it like that, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah, like he sees you doing that as well.
Yeah.
And one of our boys is like quite into style and like fashion, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's often like coming into my room and like wearing my necklaces and stuff,
Yeah.
like with like a cool outfit. Like he'll wear a chain with his outfit. And I just think like
encourage it.
Yeah, it's not
too
like
right.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we'll delve into it. So topic 1, tips and our experiences of raising boys. So where we feel like we've got experience. We're not experts, are we? But we know.
What is the main thing you say to people if they're like, I'm having boys?
Oh, okay, yeah. Just get them outside, right? They're like dogs. They just need a run around. And I know that I've got friends with daughters and they're often the same. But from our experience, boys, more than anything, you just need to get them outside. Yeah. Best investment we made was a trampoline.
Yep.
Because if they've still got that little bit of energy with an hour before bedtime or bath time, just get them out on that trampoline and thrash it out.
Yeah, I think like it can change their mood so quickly, and we learned that really early on. That actually, we need to get up and out.
I'm still the same now.
Yeah. You need to get out of the house, run around, burn off all this energy, and then also like feed them. You know, I always feel like if they've
That's
had
good
a
if you can feed your kids. That is probably our best parenting advice, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but
it's worked wonders.
No, but if they've had a good run around, they've burnt that energy, their tummy is full, and you make a fuss of them.
Yeah,
it is a bit like, you know, you've got a golden retriever. But it makes them so much happier, and it completely change their mood like when they've been out and run around. And actually in lockdown, you know, when you weren't supposed to go out that much, I actually found it quite hard. Like we still got them out every day, but it was like, oh my God, like I would find parenting so much easier out of the house with 3 boys. I was like, I just need to.
Well, you like beg them to go out sometimes, don't you? Because you know it's what they need. And like you said to them, we're going to go out, and then when we're out, you're not going to want to come home because you're having so much fun. Oh, I don't want to go. And then literally within 10 minutes of being outside, like this is the best thing ever. Like, mate, we're just at a park. Like you're not doing much. They are easily pleased, aren't they? That's just children, I think, in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially our boys, I think.
Yeah, I feel like we encourage them to come on a dog walk with us, and they really like don't want to come, you know, make a big fuss. And then when we get to the woods, they're like picking up every rock and stick and stone, and they're like having the best time. And then when it's time to leave, they don't want to leave.
No.
It's the same with the shower and the bath, isn't it? They don't want to get in it, and then they don't
you can't get them out. It's because it's your idea.
Yeah, could be their idea. I actually mentioned it in a previous podcast that we did about siblings, but I grew up in a really female household with my mum.
Really female?
Oh, it's just all women.
It's female, yeah.
It was a female household.
Yeah.
And so when I had boys, I think I was like less prepared. Well, I felt less prepared, and I felt like I needed to read books about boys a bit more. So I obviously did, because especially when my eldest reached the age of like 4, I just noticed a few changes, and I was like, what is going on?
Testosterone, right?
Yeah, like he was, you know, he was about to start school, but he got really into fighting. He got really into swords, you know, like all of a sudden, like he'd pick something up and it would be like a weapon.
Yeah.
And then he'd like just
the machete was a bit weird, wasn't it?
No, but just have a little bit more like cute aggression, but not like bad. But I was just like, oh, he like seemed to be changing anyway. So I read a few books, and there are like natural testosterone surges throughout boys, you know, growing up.
Adulthood, childhood, yeah.
And there is one from like 6 months, like a tiny bit. But then one of them, which is the one that I sort of noticed, was like before they start school, you might start to notice like they get really into superheroes, really into fighting, you know, loads of rough and tumble. That ours definitely love doing that. And then there's some others like later on as well, which we'll talk about in a second.
But yeah, with rough and tumble, I think it's obviously important you choose a safe place for it. So ours love it on the trampoline, don't they? Often when they say they're going on the trampoline together, they don't bounce a lot together. It just means, do you want to go and have a roll around on the trampoline? Because there's nothing sharp for them to hit their head on.
Yeah.
And then Jackson, our youngest, 8 years old, he's he keeps asking me for fights, doesn't he? He's like, if it's almost part of our bargaining for going up to bed. He's like, oh, can we have a fight upstairs on the bed? And I'm
Before
like, yeah.
bed.
Basically, it means, can we have a roll around and can you tickle me? And then I moan about it. And yeah, we're going to have a fight, but you can't win. Like, basically, I've got to win.
Yeah.
It's just a big cuddle on the bed. But I know I'm going to miss it one day because obviously my 14-year-old doesn't really ask me for a rough and a tumble on the bed anymore.
Oh, I bet you would. Well, actually he would hurt you.
Well, with him, he's playing football. So when we play football, we both sort of like barge each other and pick each other. Well, he doesn't pick me up, but do you know what I mean? I'll try and grab him and pick him up. He's
getting quite strong now.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't compete with him really with football. I just sort of like, I have to get physical with him.
Yeah.
Because he's too good with the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, rough and tumble has been such a big part. And don't get me wrong, there's probably girls that like that part of it, but it has been a real thing with free boys. It's been a real bonding experience as well.
Yeah, because it is how they show love.
You probably didn't have that. I don't know.
Oh, no. No, I would have never, I don't think. Like,
I mean, I wanted to rough and tumble with my sister, as in I wanted to beat her up, but it's just in a household where that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, but it is a way of them showing love and, just rolling around. And they rarely ever actually hurt each other.
No.
It is just like a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I learned quickly on, is that you should actually let them do rough and tumble. Like, don't break it up unless someone is actually getting hurt. That if you really look at it, it's just this big cuddle, really. But studies have actually shown that testosterone can contribute to higher physical activity levels. So I think sometimes when people have boys and girls, they notice like the boys are maybe just like, super active.
Yeah.
And research suggests that boys learn better through movement rather than sitting still, which is why some boys can struggle in the school system.
Yeah.
Because they learn better through movement.
And often girls thrive, right? Yeah.
Yeah. In the school system. And actually some schools, like in Finland, they incorporate frequent breaks at school to make it like, it actually improves their learning. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just boys, I imagine it's both, but they know that boys will benefit from it. Yeah, I mean, the boys do in the UK, they do like a daily mile. So every day they supposedly exercise for a mile.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
they
make sure they're exercising. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the boys do talk about it. Yeah. Especially now that the weather's got better as well.
And I used to do this like wake up, shake up thing at school.
But even as adults, I think we need that because we exercise, but we probably don't do it every day.
Yeah.
And like we probably walk the dog between us every day, but if we actually did some physical activity every day, there'd be such a benefit.
Yeah. And I think like I definitely feel better if I've walked the dog first thing in the morning or if I've exercised.
Yeah.
I just feel better for it. And obviously boys do have this, slightly higher testosterone level.
Yeah.
But that is why things like team sports or individual sports can be so good for them, and girls as well, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah. And we've definitely had a great experience with sport.
Yeah, well, I probably not started too early. It's never too early to start getting your kids to play sport. But being a dad, again, that's actually gender specific, isn't it? Like being a parent that obviously was really keen footballer, I was desperate to have a child that was into football. And obviously we've got 3 boys, so you sort of think, well, it's probably a good chance. But with our first, I pushed him at a really young age, took him at 2 years old to a football camp. And
I think he had a kid at like 3 months old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's just being a fan of a team.
It's so cute.
And I just pushed it. I just did what typical dad does. Do you know what I mean? I think it's like living their dream through their child. So he's going to be the next Mbappe. And I took him to football, and he did a couple of sessions, and he was like, it's crazy. He enjoyed it, but he just kept like running out of the hall that we was doing the football in. So I took him for a few more sessions, but every time we went, he just kept running out, and like I didn't want to tell him off because like it was me that wanted him to be there. But even though he was kind of having fun, And then I remember someone said to me that had children, and they said, "Look, if he wants to play football, he will play football. Like it will come to him at some stage. Just don't push it." And it's probably the best bit of advice I've had as a father was to not push it, because it took a while. It wasn't until he was like 7 maybe that he actually got into football, and it was school. It wasn't me.
I thought it was the World Cup as well.
Yeah. So
that really,
the 2018 tournament,
something in him.
Something clicked.
Yeah,
and
because you had it on.
Yeah,
and you were so excited about it. So he was watching.
And I think at school they'd been given a team, like a sweepstake, as it were, and just something in him just clicked, and from then on, he's been absolutely obsessed with football, and it wasn't my doing. It was obviously outside influences. So that was it. So for my second with Caleb, I did exactly the same. I just didn't push it at all. And again, he was probably 7 or 8. I know some kids are like 3 or 4 and they're just obsessed with it. And then our youngest is he's not quite into it yet, but I know that he'll get there with something. Ideally a team sport, because they just get so much from that. And socially, I think as well with a team sport, like I think about Caleb, he's now going off to secondary school. There's 3 teams in his football team that go into the same secondary school as him. So he's not just going to know the kids from his primary school. He's going to know kids from football. He's going to know kids from cricket. And I now in life as well still see people, I don't go to the pub, but do you know what I mean, in a social environment, and I'll see someone that I played football against or with. Do you know what I mean? There's always something. It's just like a common ground. So I think for men and men's mental health, I think it's like it is great.
Well, yeah, because it's so important for that like socializing side of things, because boys and men socialize better shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Like,
you tell me this.
No,
joking.
I've heard. No, apparently it's proven that, men, like men go and play golf together.
Yeah.
That's their way of like socializing and bonding.
Yeah.
Whereas like women are more likely to socialize face to face.
Yeah.
But actually, if you socialize face to face with a man, sometimes they can find
awkward.
it quite confrontational.
Yeah.
So that's why they like to be doing something.
It was only when you said this to me, I was like, oh yeah, you're probably right. I never like if you've ever, I've been out for like dinner a couple of times with a guy, do you know what I mean, just a friend, and you just like, should we go out for something? So, yeah, cool. And then you sat opposite each other. It's like, this is actually really awkward. We're like looking right at each other, and it is like a date. It's true though. It's true.
Whereas women are like, well, I like go for coffee with my friends. Love it. Like, don't get me wrong, I love going for walks with them as well.
Yeah.
But I've definitely found, as a mum of boys, I get more out of them if I'm in the car with them.
Yeah.
If I'm sat in the car and I want to ask them about their day, or I want to ask them questions about, I don't know, something going on in their life, I'm more likely to get something out of them if they're sat next to me, not in front of me.
Yeah.
Or if you go for a walk with them, they might then open up. They might, so if you can remember, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, a good bit of advice.
Yeah, it is.
Although the best bit of advice is talk to them when it's bedtime.
Yes.
Because they'll do anything to stall going to bed.
Avoid.
Oh, yeah, I'll talk about girls. Yeah, I'll talk about whether to mum. It means I'm going to go to bed.
I still go and like just say goodnight to them. Like, obviously, they don't need to be tucked in anymore, but I'll say like goodnight. And then all of a sudden they open up. They want to tell me everything about their day.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you've not spoke to me for the past hour and a half since bath, but suddenly you're all chat.
Yeah. Do you remember 3 years ago when this happened?
Yeah.
I just want to talk to you.
I'll tell you about my day now. I know you asked me when I came out of school, but now I'll tell you about something really dramatic that happened at school.
Yeah. But team sports are great. But then also, if they really like individual sports like karate or gymnastics, like our middle son, he loved gymnastics.
Yeah.
He's so bendy, does flips and all of that sort of thing. So like that is great as well for getting that like physical, aggression out in a really positive way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
sorry, I'm getting distracted here by our third child.
Hi, Jackson. Do you want to say hello? Yeah. Come and say hello to the microphone. What sport do you like, or what do you like to do?
Nothing.
No, you do like the trampoline though, don't you?
Nothing.
Wait, you did hockey the other day.
You did a hockey tournament.
Nothing.
Okay, so the second topic, like the second half of our discussion, raising boys in today's world, the modern world. I think it's mega important that they have a positive male role model or male figure. Do you know what I mean? Father-like figure.
Yeah.
I would say like their whole life, but I think they get to a point where, like, especially like our eldest, that they start to have role models that aren't me, that their dads. Do you know what I mean? It's like a little bit heartbreaking, but I probably did the same. A teacher, an uncle, someone else that they look up to, because our kids are lucky that they've got me. Do you know what I mean? Always there for them.
Yeah.
You weren't or aren't and weren't so lucky.
But for boys from 0 to 6, their biggest influence on their life, the person they look up to is their mother.
Yeah.
Which is like they needed us to feed, they needed us to everything. So 0 to 6 is that. And then from 6 years old to 14 years old, their biggest role model for boys is like they look at you, they look at the man in their life, because they're almost looking like, how are you a man? Like what do I need to be doing to be a man? So whether if you don't have a dad, like I didn't really have one around, but for boys, if they don't have a dad, they might have a granddad, they might have an uncle, or they might have
coach,
a teacher, a sports coach. But then from 14 and upwards, they kind of move away from their parents, and they need to find they want other male role models in their life. So obviously I know, I'm sorry, because we have a 14-year-old, but they start to, it's like nature's way of they think we're really dumb and don't know anything, so that they leave the tribe and then go and find someone else from somewhere else. So if you can influence who those male role models is, you might, I don't know, they might have an uncle, or like we said about a sports coach or a teacher or an older brother, someone that you trust. That's what you want.
Well, that's it, because even if they're peers, do you know what I mean? They have an older brother. Do you know what I mean? Someone they look up to. It is the sort of people they're surrounding themselves with.
Yeah.
So I still think I'm a role model. I mean, more of an example to the children, especially the 14-year-old, because I'm setting an example, right, of I do most things around the house. We're pretty equal when it comes to helping out.
Yeah, even
cooking, chores, laundry, you name it. They see me and you do it all. And I didn't grow up seeing that. I grew up seeing my mum doing it all at home and my dad at work. And that still is the case in a lot of households, but it's also not. It's just times are changing. And if the boys can see it only 50-50, then I feel like you're setting them up better for what's to come.
Yeah, even the way you talk to me is probably going to be the way they talk to their partner.
And women.
When they're old, and women when they're older. If you had no respect for me, or if you talk to me like rubbish, then that might,
Definitely. It rubs off. Yeah. My dad respected my mum. He always talked to her nicely.
It was just a different time.
Yeah,
it's just that. Those were the roles.
Yeah, but expectations are different now as well. And
I think actually that is one of the reasons that young men are struggling today, is because roles aren't as clear as that anymore. Roles are really blurred. More women, quite rightly, are in the workplace. More women than men are going to university now.
Yeah.
Universities are about 57% women at the moment and 43% men. So we're doing more higher education. We're getting great jobs. We can do it all. So whereas it used to be very clear, okay, I go and provide, man role. And then women would be I raise the kids, look after the house or whatever. Now it's just very blurred. So some young men are struggling with knowing what their roles are.
A lot of young men.
A lot of young men. And this is one of my worries, I guess. Having boys growing up today, I don't know, it can be quite concerning when you see stats around things like suicide. It's the number one killer in men that are under 45. Wow. And you think, why? What is it? And there's a few reasons, and I'm hoping this is going to improve. There's also positive things happening. They're saying studies have shown that dads nowadays are spending 3 times more time with their kids than, say, our parents. Yeah, exactly. You're around a lot more. But one of the reasons is toxic masculinity, that sort of man up culture. Don't cry, boys don't cry, all of that kind of thing, which actually I think our generation grew up with. And then, then men maybe feel like they can't be vulnerable. So if they are struggling with their mental health, they feel like they can't really show anyone because it is a weakness. And
I mean, I stop myself from saying stuff now. I go to say things I think it's really not the right thing to say. In a good way. Just because your child's crying or something and you go to say anything, no, that isn't why. He's emotional. Let him have those emotions. It doesn't matter what gender he is.
And that's so
we wouldn't
important.
have. Yeah.
That's it. It's so important to encourage emotions in your boys.
Yeah.
So if they are crying, like, it's absolutely fine to be upset.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Like, why? Can you talk me through, like, why you're so upset? Yeah. Just so they can learn to be in touch with their emotions and not like suppress it, or
not their feminine side as well. Like, that's such a thing to say, isn't it? Oh, like, he's in touch with his feminine side.
Oh yeah, like, that's actually so bad. Yeah, when actually we all have bad days.
His emotional side, it's like, it's a good thing. Yeah,
and it's good to have emotions. You know, they're like teaching you things. But also, men and women tend to deal with things differently. So women are very good at like having a community and talking about things, face-to-face contact. Like, I meet up with my friends every week, like for a dog walk, chat.
And what's that, my friends every day?
I was going to say, I can't remember, like, you haven't seen your friends for a while.
Yeah,
like,
well,
it's
like
definitely
that,
more sporadic than
we go and sit side by side in a bar.
Play golf. No, but even like if I work out with a friend, I'm having that connection, and you will talk about everything.
Yeah.
You will talk about like everything that's going on in your life. So I think we are quite like typically quite good at that.
Yeah.
Whereas men maybe find it more difficult to talk like that, and they're more likely to do like avoidance strategies.
Yeah.
So things like turning to substances, and it's not good. So encouraging them to, feel their emotions, talk about things as well, check in with them, and encourage them to have a tribe. Like we're talking about team sports and being part of something.
Yeah.
All of that can really help as well for the future. But also, I wanted to mention about other times when boys have like
testosterone spikes.
Yeah, because I think it's so interesting, and it's just good to know. And if you're listening right now, you might even think, like, that makes sense. Because
it's like when your wife tells you certain time of the month.
You're like, it's not even like that last week.
That explains it.
Yes, exactly that. So the next big testosterone spike is between the ages of 9 and 15. There's a massive spike. So if you have a tween or a teen, you may have already noticed like a little bit of back chat, like our 11-year-old, like a little bit of like, coming back at you a little bit.
Yeah.
But that is obviously like sort of they're leading up and going into puberty, and like everything's changing. So they have this huge spike. They actually get, 30 times what they had before, like 30 times testosterone. And then the next spike is from 18 to 25. That is when like testosterone is at its peak. But then you're an actual man by then, so like that shouldn't come as a surprise.
We probably still will be dealing with them. Obviously, they're our children. We will be dealing with them, but they'll probably be living at home as well, won't they? As opposed to like,
well, you can't get a mortgage these days.
Someone else's problem.
No, they'll be, oh my God, can you imagine?
Yeah.
When our house is 4 grown men.
Well, because it's like when people say about like, I've got 3 daughters. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine the hormones? I'm like, can you imagine the hormones we're going to have?
Yeah, it's the same. Like, I must admit, like, it's not been that bad, but you definitely notice, I don't know, like a little bit of back chat, like all of a sudden, like our eldest, like he's really grown tall, he's really muscly, and he's just growing up so quick. Like he actually grew 8 inches within a year. And I only know that because he has an annual allergy test where they measure him and do all these things. And they were like, he's grown 8 inches. I was like, what?
Wow.
I can't believe it. And he sort of matched.
And you've shrunk 8 inches.
Well, he matched my height when he was 12.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not tall, but still, it's unbelievable how quick they grow, isn't it?
So testosterone can increase energy levels, right? But also risk taking, which explains so much. So like, if you look at car insurance, like for young guys, it's up to, it's about 30% more than what similar age girls pay for their car insurance because they take risks. And it's like, you see a boy driving fast, boy racer. There is science behind it, right? So it's
like the statistics.
Yeah.
If they have more crashes with that age boys, and then you go to insure your car, it's like, that
and we've got
stats
that
are
times 3.
Yeah. But I saw something else that said having a boy is you spend 2 times less than if you have a girl, apparently, on clothes and things. But when I saw that, I thought, really,
but it's like when you
football kids.
Someone said to me once, 3 boys, at least you haven't got to pay for 3 weddings. I'm like, well, by the time that comes around, we probably would have got rid of that tradition.
Yeah, we'll probably offer.
But the only tradition I'm up for. But we're paying for it in car insurance anyway, so it's like...
Yeah, exactly. And sports.
Yeah.
Sports teams and football kits and things.
And another interesting fact about risk-taking is if you look at prisons, you look at the male and female ratio of UK... Well, we've got UK stats, right? So we've got... In 2024, there was 88,000 men in UK prisons and 3,635 women. So that's a whopping 96% men.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is so different.
I mean, there's obviously some hardcore criminals in there.
That's actually not what mums of boys want to be hearing either.
But you wonder how much of it is down to those testosterone levels and the risk taking. So men, do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, go on, I'll just do it. And
also like, I don't know, there might be so much more to it, you know, like that sort of need, you know, someone might feel like they need to provide.
Yeah, and there's probably a percentage of that.
As well. But yeah, that is staggering. That's like a huge, there's so many more men than in prisons than women.
And we've got 3 boys.
I don't think we should have
included that. So we pay more car insurance. Well, at least if they're in prison, we haven't got to pay car insurance.
It's one plus.
Yeah. But then we don't want to discourage healthy risk-taking, right? Because there's so many things in life. Sports, for example, we want them to try new sports. What else we got? Asking someone on a date.
Yeah.
You need to put yourself out there, and often it takes, to be fair, it takes someone to put themselves there. It doesn't have to be the guy, but also standing up for what they believe in.
Or like trying a new business, or not being afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Like that's actually, it's really good for things like
it's
that.
like what you were saying about those, the companies that have, not all companies, but there was an example of a company that had a female CEO, and then a company, and he had other companies, and he was like, the companies that I have with male CEOs, they take far bigger risks from his experience, whereas the company with a female CEO, she took far less risk, but because of it, there was far less chance.
They were saying like male-run companies are more likely to have, you know, more likely to maybe be a bit more profitable.
Yeah.
But also more likely to like go under.
Yeah.
Whereas female-run companies were less likely to go under.
Yeah.
But maybe took slightly less risks as well.
Yeah.
So that actually sort of corresponds with what you were saying about car insurance as well. Like, you know, they're less, you know,
risk takers. Yeah.
It's just kind of channeling all of that energy and all.
So hard because they're all so different as well, and like we've got all this to take in as well.
Yeah.
And there's so much opportunity out there for them.
And I worry about them when it comes to things like dating, because, you know, like we met like the old-fashioned way. We met in a nightclub.
Yeah.
Whereas they're definitely going to be able to use the apps, you know, when they're older.
Yeah, there's so many pros to technology, but I'd hate to be doing it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And there's so much choice. You know, like
I wouldn't mind it for a couple of weeks.
But you know, like I don't know, in previous times, it's probably like what girls are in your village.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Well, she's a good catch.
Yeah. My mom knows her mom. So like, who'd you go to school with?
Yeah.
Now there's going to be this huge pool of people they can look at and like.
And we actually touch on, well, not online dating, but the whole social media, the online world. We've touched on that in our screen time episode, right? So
yeah, definitely watch that. Yeah. I feel like it's getting a little bit depressing, and that we need to actually talk about why it is so lovely having boys.
Oh yeah, we better.
Because they are so sweet and they are so loving. Like they really enjoy just like hanging out after they've been run, hanging out on the sofa, like having a cuddle. Like I've always found them just really, really lovely.
What you're saying is we're quite simple creatures.
You are a simple creature. Once you crack it, once you wake up, you go out, you fill them full.
Yeah.
And you make a fuss.
Spend all your money on their food bill.
Yeah. And then they're happy and, you know, they give you a lot and they're just wonderful.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
No, they are great.
And I do feel like when it comes to, you know, their friendship groups and things, like it has been very easy and straightforward. Whereas, sometimes when I meet up with my friends that have girls, like there's a lot of drama going on at school.
Because even with like our eldest, he's at secondary school, and like some of the stories he tells, for him, the drama seems to be the girls.
Yeah. And that might not always be the case, but they're not that complex. And actually, sometimes I think I do. Sorry, you're not that complex. Sometimes I do overthink it. Like I remember once I was in the car with one of my sons and he was being really quiet and I was overthinking what it could be. I was thinking he could be being bullied at school. This has happened. Maybe got a bad grade. All these different things I was thinking. And then he was like, Mom, I was like, yeah. And he went, do you remember in Prison Break when that guy got his toe cut off? And I was like, yeah. And he went, yeah, that's crazy. I was like, sorry, what? I was like,
Beavis and Butthead.
That's what's going on in your head. And I am thinking about all these other things it could be.
Overthinking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a parenting thing as well, I think, isn't it? But yeah.
Yeah. Just worry.
Simple.
No reason. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to try and make things a little bit more lighthearted.
Yes.
With my moan of the week.
Oh, Matt's moan.
Because we've not had... Actually, we've laughed a little bit, to be fair.
Matt's moan.
My moan... I was trying to think of one that was remotely related to having boys. And I thought we're probably going to spend the whole podcast moaning about having boys anyway. So I thought, yeah, we've used up all my moans about that. So we was talking about football and being soccer parents or sports parents.
Oh. And then there's a lot you could moan about.
Emily knows where this is going, though. There's one thing that just really gets my back up. And again, I'm going to put a few noses out of joint. And there's probably about 3 people watching this that are going to hate me for it. But I know there's loads of groups out there that are against them as well. My moan is dry robes.
Yeah.
Can I just leave it there? Drop.
No, I have no problem with dry robes. I actually bought a dry robe and
I sold it on Vinted.
Wore a dry robe. He sold it. I bought Caleb a dry robe. I thought this would be perfect for like when they have sport and it would be great. But you have this massive problem with them.
I understand what they were intended use for. It just seems a lot of people have misread the lines of what they were meant to be used for. They're meant for like after swimming, right? And outdoor sports when you're cold and then you warm up quickly. And if you're wet, they're obviously a dry robe. They dry you.
Yeah.
It's just the school run, like people out doing the food shop. There's so many forums out there. It's so funny. There's so many people, they call them something that I can't say on here.
If they're good for after swimming, then surely they're good for like a muddy dog walk.
Yeah, but it's just like, they just seem so fat. They're just so massive and like, they just got no style, but like people think they're really cool going for their coffee in them with their running gear that they're not going to use at the gym. Yeah, so that's my moan. Dry robes, get rid of them.
I don't agree, guys. You've offended people here.
I'd love to know a poll, actually. Get rid of.
Comment down below for or against.
Yeah.
We want to get you guys involved in these episodes as well. So I asked you on Instagram for your top tips when it comes to raising boys and also any funny stories that you might have. And we have got quite a few here. So I wanted to share some of our favorites. One person wrote in and said, make sure you keep an empty disposable water bottle in your car at all times.
Good tip.
And that is so true.
Yeah.
We actually bought like a proper one on Amazon. Yeah. It's like this little bottle potty thing.
Yeah.
For
looks weird.
If they need a wee. Yeah. But it's actually so convenient being a boy. You can just do stuff like that.
Yeah, we're so lucky.
I can't.
Made me think of the time that you had to. Anyway. This is a good tip. An extra washing machine and tumble dryer per boy.
That's so true.
The laundry.
Mud.
I mean, I should imagine if you've got a girl that plays in sports teams as well, it's pretty similar, but yeah.
It is like...
because they're filthy.
In the winter. Like it's so muddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're throwing trainers in, jackets in, everything.
I love this one. Again, could be a girl, but it's great. My little one is free, and as his nanny came out of the toilet in a coffee shop, he shouted, "Did you just do a poo-poo?"
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing our kids would have done.
Yeah, our kids, they love toilet humor, don't they?
Yeah, that's true.
I always remember, like, when they were really little, we went to Egypt and Fraser was like 3 years old.
Yeah.
And we were sharing a hotel room. We were all bathing together and stuff like that. And then he just started to like be aware of like body parts.
Yeah.
Do you remember? And then the next day at the pool, he announced really loudly by the pool, Daddy's got a big willy. Mummy's got a little willy. Like that. And you were like...
Yeah, I tell that story all the time.
You were like, that is music to my ears, son.
That yours is only little.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have a willy. Yeah.
When my son was 2 years old, he asked me, Mama, where is your penis?
Yeah.
Someone else is getting similar kind of stuff.
Yeah. Someone said, get them outside as much as possible and cuddle them as much as possible.
Yeah, there's loads of that.
There was loads of messages saying, get them outside, get them outside.
So true.
Yeah.
Here you go. We could only get them to go to bed if we turned it into a competition. Who is fastest to get upstairs? We do that on a daily basis, don't we?
But did you see, with that comment, she said, it's always works for my sons, but not my daughter.
Oh, wow.
So it's she like turning it into a competition.
Yeah, because I think with like my youngest, he's not going to fall for this again. I'm like, if he's literally adamant he's not going to bed or going out for a bath, I'm like, I'll race you, and then that's it.
Yeah.
We've got like a 3, 2, 1 start and everything. You know what I mean? I have to start a bit further back, and it's like this. He's so competitive about it.
Yeah, and even like when they didn't want to get dressed, we're like, I'll time you.
Yeah.
Like if it's like some sort of competitive element to it.
I think we've got this to look forward to. You can never be prepared for the amount of eggs they consume when they get to 15 years old.
Yeah, Fraser is getting a bit like that.
Yeah.
Like he eats more than us.
He eats our-sized meals, right?
Yeah, he can eat really big portions now.
Yeah.
His 3 egg omelets and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is a lot. Someone else commented, you need a surgeon that you can reach to it all the time. That's very true. I mean, I think we've been lucky with the boys, but one of our sons is quite accident prone. Like we have been to the medical center quite a few times.
Yeah.
From just little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just it.
Someone else said, lots of outdoor play, lots of parks, scooters, bikes, water play, sand play. That is very true.
Yeah. And then this is nice. Allow them to be unique. Their awesomeness will shine through.
Yeah.
It's so true with any gender. Whatever you've got, boy or girl. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we like to think we've done that.
Yeah. Ours are all like very unique, aren't they?
Unique, yeah.
No, I mean like...
Different.
Like they're similar in some ways. Like they do mostly like football, like the older two do.
Yeah.
And then the younger two, they both love colouring.
Yeah.
But then they all have like their individual...
quirks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because we're all so different.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you think, I can't believe like all 3 of my boys are so different. But then like that is just humans. That is just us. Like we're all very different.
The joy of life.
Okay, so that is it for this episode. We really hope you enjoyed talking about raising boys today. Of course, as always, we would love your feedback. So please comment below any tips that you have, any experiences you have, because I'm sure everyone would love to read those, especially me. So yeah, thank you so much for listening and for watching. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on all the podcast apps and things that you do. And we will see you guys in our next episode.
See you guys. Bye.